Have you ever heard of women so powerful that even the most feared agency in America refused to touch them? In the heart of Hollywood, where fame is currency and connections are everything, these Vietnamese women have quietly built empires that most people can only dream of. We're talking influence, and networks so deep they stretch from the streets of Little Saigon all the way to the top of the entertainment world. And the wildest part? Their stories are only getting started. Who exactly are they? Stay with us because these women will leave you speechless. 13. Karrueche Tran. Let's start where the glow-up energy is the highest, and that is with Karrueche Tran. Most people first heard her name because of a relationship. But here is the thing about Karrueche. She took every single headline that came her way and turned it into a business card. Born in Los Angeles to a Vietnamese mother and a Jamaican Trinidadian father, she grew up learning how to move in spaces that were not always built for her. She started out as a personal shopper at Westfield Topanga Mall, styling everyday people and catching the eyes of a few celebrities along the way. By 2011, her name was in every tabloid in America. And instead of disappearing, she leveled up. She launched a clothing line called The Kill, then collabed with ColourPop Cosmetics on her own makeup line called K-pop, and it sold out. She went from meme to mogul in a span of a few years, her Emmy-winning role in the digital drama. The Bae proved she was not just a pretty face but a legitimate actress with range. In 2024 alone, she joined Ridiculousness as a co-host and dropped a Lifetime movie titled Searching for a Serial Killer. She has over 13 million Instagram followers, and brands still pay top dollar to be on her page. Fashion labels, beauty companies, lifestyle brands, they all want a piece of her. With a net worth sitting between $2 and $3 million and still climbing, Karrueche turned a front-row seat at someone else's fame into her own spotlight. And she never needed anyone's permission to do it. And speaking of women who turned hardship into headlines, wait until you hear about number 12. 12. Kelly Marie Tran. Picture this. Your dad grew up homeless on the streets of Vietnam. Your mom worked at a funeral home after they escaped the war and landed in America. You are working at a yogurt shop in high school just to save up enough money for headshots because you want to be an actress. That is the beginning of Kelly Marie Tran's story, and the ending is one for the history books. Born Lone Tran on January 17, 1989, in San Diego, California, Kelly graduated from UCLA with a degree in communications and spent years doing college humor skits and tiny TV roles. She almost gave up. Then in 2015, she was cast as Rose Tico in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and the whole world changed. She became the first woman of color to ever have a leading role in a Star Wars film. She also became the first Asian woman to appear on the cover of Vanity Fair. That same cover sat on newsstands across the entire country. And when internet trolls tried to harass her off the platform, she came back stronger. She used the bag from Star Wars to pay off her student loans, then went straight into voicing Princess Raya in Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, the first ever Southeast Asian Disney princess. Her net worth sits at around $3 to $5 million, and it is only growing. Now, the girl from the yogurt shop is now a Disney princess. How much more of a glow-up can you ask for? But if you think that's an inspiring climb, the next woman on this list is someone you have seen on your screen more times than you probably realize. 11. Lana Condor. There is something about Lana Condor's story that feels like it was written specifically for the movies she ends up starring in. She was born Tran Dong Lan in Con Tho, Vietnam, and spent her very first months in an orphanage before being adopted by American parents Bob and Mary Condor in 1997. She grew up in Chicago, trained in ballet at the Joffrey Ballet and Alvin Ailey Dance Theater. Studied acting at the New York Film Academy and Yale Summer Conservatory, and then in 2016, she made her feature film debut as Jubilee in X-Men Apocalypse. Not bad for a first move, but it was her role as Laura Jean Covey in Netflix's To All the Boys I've Loved Before in 2018 that turned her into a household name. The film was a massive hit and launched a trilogy on the platform. Then she voiced a character in DreamWorks' Alita Battle Angel, starred in the sci-fi series Deadly Class, executive produced and starred in Netflix's Boo Bitch, and in 2025 and 2026, she kept booking, with Valiant One, and the action thriller Pretty Lethal. Brand deals have added another layer to her income, with ambassadorships including Neutrogena, Puma, and Aerie. In 2024, she married her longtime love, Anthony De La Torre, in an intimate Malibu ceremony, and her Instagram showed nothing short of a dreamy, flower-covered luxury affair. Her net worth is estimated between $4 million and $10 million. And with multi-picture deals on the table, those numbers have nowhere to go but up. Now, we are getting into the women whose names carry real institutional weight in Hollywood, and number 10 is exactly that. 10. Jeannie Mai. Here is something that people forget about Jeannie Mai. Before she was a TV host, before the red carpets, before the talk show couch, she was standing behind a counter at MAC Cosmetics at 18 years old doing makeovers for a living. Born Jeannie Cam Thu Mai on January 4, 1979, in San Jose, California to a Vietnamese mother and Chinese-Vietnamese father, she did not grow up with connections or silver spoons. She grew up with a skill set and the determination to make it matter. She went from MAC counters to doing celebrity makeup for Alicia Keys and Christina Aguilera. Then she got her first hosting gig on a local television show, and once that door opened, she walked straight through it. She became the host of the Emmy-nominated Style Network show How Do I Look, hosted segments on E!, TLC, NBC, and Lifetime, and then became one of the main faces of the daytime talk show The Real, which ran for several years and gave her a permanent seat at a table that had never really had a Vietnamese-American woman on it before. Her fashion sense became its own brand. Glossy magazine covers, front-row Fashion Week seats, and campaigns with major beauty companies all followed. Her style has been described by industry insiders as fearless and polished at the same time. She turned a makeup brush into a media career worth millions and built a platform that put Vietnamese-American women on primetime screens every single weekday. That is legacy work. The next woman on this list is someone who walked into the most competitive room in Hollywood and refused to leave. 9. Chantal Thuy. Chantal Thuy is not a name that comes with billions attached to it yet, but what she has done in the last few years makes her impossible to ignore on any list about Vietnamese women commanding space in Hollywood. Born and raised in Montreal, Quebec, she is fluent in English, French, and Vietnamese, which already tells you something about the kind of woman she is. Cultured, layered, and not easy to box in. In 2020, she was cast as a series regular in the DC Comics series Black Lightning on the CW, where she played Grace Choi for 4 full seasons. That is not a guest spot. That is not a 2-episode arc. That is 4 seasons on a major DC television series. She then stepped into a love interest role on Season 4 of CBS's Magnum P.I., another major network booking that showed Hollywood she was not a one-trick situation. In 2024, she was nominated for and won a Canadian Screen Award for Best Supporting Role in a Drama for her portrayal of Nguyen in the acclaimed Quebec film R.U., which premiered at the 2023 Toronto International Film Festival. She has also made her Broadway debut in Tracy Letts' play Linda Vista, performing alongside the Steppenwolf Theater Ensemble in New York. A DC series, a CBS hit, a Broadway stage, and a film award. And she is just getting started. The name Chantal Thuy is being said in rooms that will only get bigger from here. But things are about to get heavier. Because starting at number 8, these women are not just in the industry, they are moving it. 8. Levy Tran. The story of Levy Tran starts in San Jose, California, and it is one of the most unexpected paths to Hollywood you will hear. Her full name is Tran Levy, and after high school, instead of going the traditional route into teaching, she dropped everything and became a model. Not your typical high-fashion runways, but tattoo magazines and MTV's Guy Code, where her look, full of bold tattoos and an undeniable confidence, built her a following that the industry could not ignore. That following got her noticed by director James Wan and Vin Diesel, who brought her in for a role in Fast and Furious 7. From there, things moved quickly. She appeared in The First Purge in 2018, then landed a haunting supporting role in The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, one of the most talked-about horror series in recent memory. But her biggest television moment came when she became the female lead of MacGyver for seasons 4 and 5. The lead, not the guest. The lead. Her journey from tattoo model to franchise films to network television lead is the kind of trajectory that usually takes decades, but Levy did it in a handful of years. She carved a lane that did not exist for a woman who looked like her, and the industry not only accepted it, but invited her back for more. Her story is a reminder that in this business, the most unusual paths sometimes lead to the most remarkable places. But while Levy was building her Hollywood presence on screen, the woman at number 9 was doing it from behind the screen and in front of millions. 7. Olivia Munn. Olivia Munn has a Vietnamese mother and built one of the most diverse and durable careers in American entertainment. She was born on July 3, 1980, in Oklahoma City, and grew up navigating different cultures and different expectations. Her mother is Vietnamese and her father is American. And that mix gave Olivia something that could not be taught in any acting school, which is the ability to code switch, to charm, and to command a room with absolute ease. She got her start as a correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, where she held her own alongside some of the sharpest comedic minds in television. Then she crossed over into acting with roles in Magic Mike, X-Men, Apocalypse, and the Lego Ninjago movie. Her endorsement portfolio grew alongside her career, with major campaigns for Neutrogena, Nike, Pepsi, and most lucratively, Proactive, with the company reportedly spending between $12 and $15 million a year on celebrity endorsements, and Olivia was one of the primary faces. Here is what a lot of people do not know about her though. Olivia Munn was an early investor in Uber, the dog-walking app Wag, and Blue Bottle Coffee, which was later acquired by Nestle. So while people were watching her on screen, she was also building equity in companies that would be worth billions. Her net worth is around $15 million, and it did not come from luck. It came from being smart enough to play multiple games at once. $15 million is impressive, but the women coming up next have crossed into territory that is a whole different conversation. 6. Maggie Q. When you think of the word action star, the names that usually come to mind are men. But Maggie Q rewrote that script a long time ago, and she did it on 2 continents. Born as Margaret Denise Quigley in Honolulu, Hawaii, to a Vietnamese mother and a father of Polish and Irish descent, Maggie had zero safety nets when she decided to leave college after 1 year and fly to Tokyo at age 17 to model. No connections, no money, just confidence and a look that nobody in Asia had ever seen before. From Tokyo, she moved to Hong Kong, and that is where her life changed completely. Jackie Chan saw something in the athletic young model and took her under his wing, training her in martial arts and stunt work. She became his protege, and under his guidance she turned into a fully formed action star. She broke out across Asia with roles in Rush Hour 2 and Naked Weapon, and Hollywood came calling shortly after. Her role in Mission Impossible 3 cemented her status as a legitimate global star, and Live Free or Die Hard made her a household name in America. Then she headlined her own TV series. Nikita on the CW ran for 4 seasons and gave her a lead role that she absolutely owned. Then came Designated Survivor, another major series where she held her own alongside Kiefer Sutherland. In December 2005, she purchased a 2,860-square-foot property in Los Angeles for around $2.225 million, and she also owns property in New York. With a net worth of around $12 million, Maggie Q turned a one-way ticket to Tokyo into a 2-decade Hollywood career. That is the definition of a woman no industry wall can contain. But wait until you see the top 5. 5. Thuy Trang. There are names that opened doors, and then there are names that tore the doors off entirely. Thuy Trang is one of those names. Born in Saigon, Vietnam, she came to America as a refugee in 1979 when her family boarded a cargo ship and eventually made it to California in 1980. She earned a scholarship to study civil engineering at UC Irvine, and then, after her father passed away in 1992, she pivoted entirely and decided to chase the dream she had quietly held on to all along. She got her first big break in 1993 when she was cast as Trini Quan, the Yellow Ranger, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. For millions of children around the world, Thuy Trang was their first Vietnamese-American action hero, their first Asian-American Power Ranger, their first reference point for a Vietnamese woman on mainstream American television, The show was a cultural phenomenon, and Trini Quan became one of its most beloved characters precisely because of the warmth, the intelligence, and the grace that Thuy brought to the role. She left the show in 1994 to pursue other projects and went on to appear in The Crow, City of Angels in 1996. Her life was cut short in September 2001 in a car accident at just 27 years old, and the loss was felt across generations. But her legacy never faded. She remains one of the most important Vietnamese women in Hollywood history, a trailblazer whose footprint every woman on this list is walking in whether they know it or not. Moving on from the woman who tore the door to the woman who is currently redecorating the entire hallway, and that is Kieu Chinh. 4. Kieu Chinh. There is something profoundly powerful about the story of Kieu Chinh, and it is the kind of story that makes every other success story on this list feel like it was standing on her shoulders. She was born in Hanoi, Vietnam, and by the time she was a teenager, she was already acting in Vietnamese cinema. She built an entire career as one of Vietnam's biggest film stars before the war changed everything. When Saigon fell in 1975, Kieu Chinh fled to the United States as a refugee with almost nothing. And then, in a country that did not know her name yet, in an industry that had barely made room for Asian faces, she started over. She appeared in Hollywood productions throughout the 1980s, and then in '93 she delivered one of the most emotionally powerful performances in American cinema when she appeared alongside Ming Na Wen, Lisa Liu, and the rest of the ensemble cast in The Joy Luck Club. She played Su Yuan Wu, and her portrayal was described by critics as breathtaking. With over 60 years of combined experience in both Vietnamese and American cinema, Kieu Chinh is not just a Hollywood actress. She is a living archive of history, survival, and artistry. She wrote a memoir in 2021 that chronicled her extraordinary life. In an industry where Vietnamese women were practically invisible for decades, she showed up and she stayed. Her influence on every Vietnamese American actress working today is immeasurable. Now the top 3. These women have reached levels that genuinely make you stop and stare. 3. Veronica Ngo. When Hollywood calls Vietnam, one of the first names they reach for is Veronica Ngo. Born as Ngo Than Van in Ho Chi Minh City, she is one of Southeast Asia's biggest action stars and has officially crossed into the global Hollywood space in a way that no Vietnamese actress had done before her in the modern era. In Vietnam, she is a superstar. She has headlined blockbuster films, built a production company, and won awards across Asia for her work as both an actress and a producer. Her Hollywood breakout came in 2017 when she appeared in Star Wars: The Last Jedi as Paige Tico, sister to Kelly Marie Tran's character. Yes, 2 Vietnamese women were cast in the same Star Wars film. That had never happened before in the franchise's 4-decade history. She then starred in the Netflix original Da 5 Bloods directed by Spike Lee, sharing the screen with Chadwick Boseman, Delroy Lindo, and Jean Reno in one of the most acclaimed films of 2020. Beyond acting, her production company in Vietnam has backed multiple major films, and her business reach extends across film, fashion, and entertainment. She is the rare kind of woman who is simultaneously a box office draw in Asia and a recognizable face in Hollywood. 2 continents, 1 presence, and an influence that is only getting bigger. What she has built is not just a career, it is a cross-continental empire. If number 3 is a cross-continental empire, then number 2 is about to show you what a truly global icon looks like. 2. Hiep Thi. There is a scene in Oliver Stone's 1993 film Heaven and Earth that made the entire world stop and pay attention to a young Vietnamese woman named Hiep Thi. She had no formal acting training. She had never stood in front of a Hollywood camera. She was a Vietnamese refugee who had grown up in San Jose, California, and Oliver Stone, one of the most decorated directors in Hollywood history, cast her as the lead of an entire major studio film, not a supporting role, the lead. Heaven and Earth told the story of Lê Ly Hayslip, a Vietnamese woman who survived the Vietnam War, and Hiep Thi brought that story to life with a rawness and authenticity that earned her international recognition. The film was screened at the Cannes Film Festival, and overnight, Hiep became one of the most talked about new faces in world cinema. She followed the film with more projects and was recognized as a pioneer for Asian representation in Hollywood at a time when that was almost unheard of. Beyond her acting career, Hiep Thi expanded into the business world, investing her platform and her earnings into ventures that extended her reach well beyond the screen. With over 60 years of combined life experience navigating the entertainment industry as a Vietnamese refugee turned Hollywood leading lady, her story is one of the most profound in this entire list. She walked into Oliver Stone's world and held it down, and the doors she opened are still being walked through today. From an Oliver Stone leading lady to a woman whose name now sits at the very top of this list. The #1 spot belongs to someone whose net worth, influence, cultural reach, and business power make everyone else's achievements look like the beginning of a story that she has already finished. 1. Hong Chau. And here we are. The #1 spot. And if you have been paying attention to the film industry over the last 8 years, this should not surprise you at all. Hong Chau walked into Hollywood from a Thai refugee camp, navigated years of supporting roles and patient, meticulous career building, and then one day the industry simply could not pretend she was not the best person in every room she walked into. Her journey started in the early 2000s with small television appearances, building a reputation as a reliable and deeply focused performer. Then Paul Thomas Anderson put her in Inherent Vice in 2014, and the serious directors started paying attention. Alexander Payne gave her the role of Ngoc Lana Tran in Downsizing in 2017, and her portrayal of a Vietnamese political activist living in a miniaturized world was so layered, so emotionally complex, and so fully realized that a Golden Globe nomination followed immediately. What came next was a masterclass in sustained excellence. HBO's Watchmen, Big Little Lies with Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman, The Menu opposite Anya Taylor-Joy, Driveways, Showing Up with Michelle Williams, Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. Yorgos Lanthimos cast her in 3 different roles in his film Kinds of Kindness after being so impressed by her range. And then came Darren Aronofsky's The Whale with Brendan Fraser, which earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. An Oscar nomination, from a refugee camp to the Oscar stage. Her net worth is estimated between $18 and $20 million, accumulated through 2 decades of deliberate, intelligent, world-class work. She does not chase trends. She does not take every role that comes to her. She picks projects that expand what Vietnamese women are allowed to be on screen. And in doing so, she has become one of the most respected actresses working in Hollywood today. The industry does not dictate her trajectory. She dictates it. That is what it means to be at the top of this list. And that is what it means for nobody and nothing to be able to hold you back. So there you have it. 15 Vietnamese women who have built empires, broken records, and taken Hollywood by storm. From red carpets to Oscar stages, these women are writing history every single day. Which one surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments and subscribe to her status, because there is so much more where this came from.